Here's what's coming up on the world today. Shuttle diplomacy continues as French President Emmanuel Macron holds talks with Ukrainian president, tells reporters after that Russian forces will not ramp up the crisis near Ukraine's borders. Canada's Prime Minister calls for an end to the truckers' protest in Ottawa. Plus, a cabinet reshuffle in the UK as Prime Minister Boris Johnson rejigs ministers at number 10. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Amarachi Ubani in Lagos. French President Emmanuel Macron ended his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky just a while ago. He says any resolution of the Ukrainian crisis may yet take months. Mr. Macron was in Moscow just yesterday where he met with President Vladimir Putin. He said after that meeting that the meeting helped to ensure there was no degradation or further escalation with Ukraine. Mr. Macron has been chasing a diplomatic solution to the crisis between Russia and Ukraine as tensions heighten in the region.
French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in the Ukrainian capital Kiev today after almost 6 hours of talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two men met and shook hands at Zelensky's official residence before sitting down for talks. Macron told journalists in Ukraine that the talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin on Monday had helped reach the goal of preventing a further deterioration of the security crisis concerning Ukraine. However, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said ahead of the talks that Ukraine is looking forward to discussions with visiting French President Macron on Russia, but will not be forced to cross its own red lines. He did not specify which red lines he was referring to, but Kiev has repeatedly said it would oppose any negotiations over its fate without its participation or any deal with Russia that interfered with its rights to join alliances such as NATO. On Monday, the tensions between Russia and the West were laid bare during Mr. Putin's news conference with the French president when the Russian leader warned of what might happen if Ukraine joined NATO and sucked Europe into a major conflict. President Putin hinted progress had been made during the first Moscow summit with a Western leader since Russian troops massed close to Ukraine's borders, but also repeated warnings about the threat of war. Western countries have already rejected a number of Moscow's demands, including that the NATO Defense Alliance rule out Ukraine becoming a member and that it reduces its military presence in Eastern Europe. They have instead suggested other areas of negotiation, for example, talks on cutting back nuclear weaponry.
Making his visit to Washington.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden met the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Washington on Monday and threatened to shut down a key Russian gas pipeline to Germany if Moscow invaded Ukraine.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
German Chancellor said the United States and Germany had the same approach to Ukraine, Russia and sanctions, but did not directly confirm the Nord Stream 2 plans. Whether the US and Germany are on the same page over the $11 billion project has become a crucial question as the two nations lead NATO allies in pushback against Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Let's get a feel now of the situation in Ukraine today. Joining me now is Eddie Upaka. He's a businessman in Kiev, from where he joins me. Eddie, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us what the mood is like in Kiev following that meeting between Presidents Macron and Zelensky?
Yeah, I will tell you practically because we've long been expecting this day, but before this, everything is going on in Kiev normal. As everything is going on normal, everybody are okay. Nobody's panicking for anything. We in Ukraine here, we actually Only people from outside only call us to ask, okay, I think you guys are already dead in Ukraine. But here in Ukraine, everything's moving on normal. Businesses are going on normal, actually. No, but today, based on this, the visit of the French president, everybody was just anxious to see what or hear what the Europe has to offer Ukraine, whether it's better for Ukraine to tilt to the side of Russia or align with the European Union. But based on listening to the both presidents, I know that Ukraine will better to align with Europe. They have better options, to tilt to the European side than the Russian side. France has promised them more opportunities, more money, more options, based on the water supply and everything. So I think better what has just happened today to Ukraine, I think is a way forward.
Okay, when you're saying aligning with Europe, I think you probably mean NATO there. So I know that, Ukraine speaks Russian. Almost everything is in Russian in Ukraine. So you might just see Ukraine as an extension of Russia. But, you said that everything is normal. Yesterday, we mentioned that the Ukrainian economy has been affected by the tensions. As a business person yourself, how much of an impact do you think the crisis has had on businesses in Kiev?
Yeah, it's affected in a way because a lot of people are afraid. Okay, what will happen next? Maybe we need to leave Ukraine. Maybe we need to fly out. Because of that, a lot of people have actually left Ukraine. I remember the last time most of my clients that were Americans, they had to leave because the American government told them you have to leave. So it affects businesses in one way or the other because people are not stable. People feel that, okay, should we stay here or not? But practically, aside that, for me, every other thing is still moving on as normal. It affects because the influx of this reduction in influx of clients, it affects us in a way, but life still goes on.
Do you feel safe in Kiev?
Seriously, we are safe here.
Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe?
I feel safe. Yeah, me personally, I feel safe because I've experienced war before in Ukraine. I was here in 2013, 2014 when the first war happened, and then being a part of that war, experiencing the war before, and then being here now, I know nothing is happening in Ukraine for now, seriously.
That's when you're trying to compare what's happening right now and, the 2013. I suppose you're talking about the invasion, the Crimea annexation.
Yeah, the Maidan, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the Maidan war.
So you feel that what's going on now has no similarities with what happened back then. So right now, there's really nothing to worry about? Is that what you're saying?
For now, actually, for me, there's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. I think it's more of a political propaganda now because of what the media is portraying outside Ukraine. But we in Ukraine, what the media is telling us and what we are seeing, we feel more safe, that everything is fine.
Everything is fine. And yet your president is having meetings with these other European neighbors. The French president, as we mentioned earlier, was there a while ago. And I know that the Ukrainian president will be meeting with other leaders as well to find a diplomatic solution to what's going on. Finally, what kinds of conversations are going on in the Nigerian community in Kiev regarding a Russian invasion? Because that's what's on the news. But you say that back home, no one's really talking about that. So do these kinds of conversations come up, when the members of the Nigerian community meet and talk?
Yeah, actually, I've received several circulars from the Nigerian embassy here, still assuring Nigerians that everything is fine, everybody is safe, and the embassy is practically ready for anything that will happen to safeguard Nigerians here. And I hope that what they are saying is actually true, and we expect that if anything will happen, they are by our side. So, but practically, people are just, parents are being worried. Okay, and then most of the students, because here we have much students studying here in Ukraine, and a lot of them, their parents are calling them from home. You see what is happening, are you safe, are you this and that, and most of the parents will call me and ask me, is everything okay? So for me, being here and seeing what is going on, I feel we are safe. Everything is fine. The Nigerian community here, they are trying to just to give that assurance that if anything will happen, all Nigerians will be safeguarded in one way or the other, and probably aid will be provided. So we just believing that our same will happen if anything goes wrong. But I believe that nothing will go wrong.
And Eddie, before you go, I know you speak fluent Russian, so I know that you're able to monitor even the media in Russia, which is your neighbor. What's going on? What is going on in the media over there? What kind of information is being fed to people in Russia?
Looking at the Ukraine-Russia issue, I just see that, it's the battle, a tussle of power between the Western and Russia. You see, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffer. So Ukraine is in the middle. Ukraine is in the middle of this fight, because looking at it practically, Russia is trying to protect their interests. This like brothers and sisters, Ukraine and Russia. I was telling that, you see, almost everybody in Ukraine will speak Russian language.
Yes,
These guys are more together.
Sorry, Eddie, but I suppose that, you do get some channels, some Russian channels in Ukraine. What kind of information is going out to Russia concerning this crisis, as those of the West and outside
Russia,
call it?
if you watch Russian channels will tell you that everything is fine, that Ukraine is better aligned with Russia, that we have a lot of opportunities. And you see, looking at it practically, Russia will let you understand that, see, most of the Ukrainian produce sells more in Russian markets than in European market. Ukraine doesn't have anything that will sell in European markets. So Europe, what they are portraying, like Europe is coming for business, it's coming to explore Ukraine, but Russia will always absorb Ukraine and provide more opportunities for Ukraine and Ukrainians. You understand? So that is what is going on. But other side, the other media, because Ukraine people feel that it's better for us to go to Europe because they feel that there's much opportunity there. So this other side, I say, okay, don't worry. Aligning with Europe is much better. You have free access to Europe and all those stuff. So, and then looking at it, at some point you can be confused because you don't know who is really telling you the truth or not.
I can understand
but
that.
Seeing it.
I can. Sorry to interrupt you. I can understand that, and I know you have a lot to say. And I know you'll get the opportunity to say a lot more as we go on, because this crisis is still unfolding. Eddie, we appreciate your joining us on the program. Well, we're not there with you, but do stay safe no matter what.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I switch gears now to the Indirect talks holding in Vienna today to revive a 2015 nuclear deal. Former U.S. President Donald Trump left in 2018. Iranian and U.S. officials are represented in the talks, and the U.S. State Department says negotiations are entering their final stretch, and Iran declaring a part of their demands on sanctions removal have so far been left unaddressed in the talks. Both sides say they await a final political decision from the other to revive the nuclear deal. Much earlier, Iran's top security official Ali Shamkhani warned on Twitter that the path to negotiations will not be smooth should the current U.S. administration continue with the maximum pressure launched against Iran by Trump. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has accused the U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump of damaging the reputation of the United States in rare direct criticism of U.S. presidents. He said in a broadcast today that two American presidents, the current and former heads of state, have joined hands to tarnish the image of the United States, each of them in different ways. His comments, of course, come after as the U.S. and Iran hold talks in Vienna today to revive the 2015 nuclear deal that former President Donald Trump left in 2018. We have more stories coming up on The World Today. Plus, well, talk about a human canvas. We'll take a look at the works of art by Nigerian makeup artists, by a Nigerian makeup artist painting faces of celebrities on her. Stay with us. Welcome back. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the protest by truckers, which has paralyzed the capital, Ottawa, has to stop. He said Canadians were shocked and frankly disgusted by some protesters' behavior, which has reportedly included vandalism and racial abuse. Lorry drivers have been rallying against Canada's COVID vaccine rules. Their vehicles have gridlocked Ottawa, and a state of emergency has been declared in the city. For nearly 2 weeks, hundreds of lorries have brought the city centre to a standstill, forcing many local businesses to close.
What is problematic, Mr. Speaker, however, is when speech, demonstrations and protest veers into hatred. Now, I don't want to overstate the case. We know that there's been some instances of hatred. Perhaps not all of the protesters are engaging in this, but it does taint and flavor and characterize what we're seeing when we see it on a repeated basis. And what have we seen? We've seen swastikas and we've seen the Confederate flag. And what do those mean, Mr. Speaker? Well, a swastika is obviously a symbol of the Third Reich. It harkens back to Nazi Germany. It's a very vilifying and detestable manifestation of what that regime represented this evening. For the people of Ottawa, for even the people here who work in Ottawa, such as me, Mr. Speaker, it's starting to look a lot more like an occupation than a protest.
And I think it's objectively the case that Canada's approach when it comes to vaccine mandates is far more draconian than many other countries around the world. For instance, countries in Europe have an alternative that's based on natural immunity. And yet Canada doesn't seem to recognize that.
Hearing from lawmakers in the Canadian Parliament and not the Prime Minister. But let's check in on the global pandemic now. Health workers in Italy have begun rolling out Pfizer's COVID-19 pill to vulnerable people for whom the vaccine can be less effective. Here's more in the update.
The Spanish government has announced that Spain will lift the requirement for people to wear masks outdoors from Thursday. Mask wearing outdoors was reinstated in late December to curb the spread of the emergent Omicron variant of the coronavirus. Over the past 2 weeks, the COVID-19 contagion rate in Spain has steadily fallen, reaching 1,997 cases per 100,000 people on Monday, down from almost 3,400 in early January. Germany's health ministry says the coronavirus situation is still not under control and an Omicron infection wave is still expected to peak around mid-February. The health minister says easing measures anytime soon would significantly extend the wave. Over the past 24 hours, Germany reported 169,571 new daily cases, and the 7-day infection incidence rose to a record of 1,441 cases per 100,000. Italy has started rolling out Pfizer's COVID-19 pill to vulnerable people for whom the vaccine can be less effective. Paxlovid, a combination of Pfizer's pill with an older antiviral ritonavir, is the second antiviral being rolled out in Italy after molnupiravir. The country has registered 149,097 deaths linked to COVID-19 since its outbreak emerged in February 2020. Away from Europe, Hong Kong has announced stringent new coronavirus restrictions and a record number of new infections. It comes as a shortage of vegetables is adding to the misery, with truck drivers testing positive for COVID-19, unable to bring them from mainland China. The Asian financial hub reported a record 625 coronavirus cases over the past 24 hours, with ostricities saying cases are likely to continue rising rapidly. There were 2,600 infections over the past 2 weeks, compared with just 2 in December. And finally, officials in China say the COVID-19 resurgence in Beijing and the neighboring Tianjin municipality has been generally brought under control amid a stabilized epidemic situation across the country during the Spring Festival holiday. The National Health Commission says the Chinese mainland had reported 65 new locally transmitted COVID-19 cases and 40 new imported cases as of Monday.
In the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has reshuffled his cabinet, naming Jacob Rees-Mogg as the new Minister for Brexit Opportunities. Chris Heaton-Harris becomes the new Chief Whip in charge of disciplining Conservative MPs, some of whom have called on Mr Johnson to resign. His predecessor, Mark Spencer, replaces Mr Rees-Mogg as a leader of the Commons. But some Tory MPs have privately expressed concern about Mr Spencer's new post. The role includes the responsibility for standards of behavior in Westminster, but is currently being investigated over accusations of Islamophobia raised by fellow MP Nosrat Ghani, claims that he has denied. After the announcement, Ms. Ghani retweeted her statement from January when the story became public, in which she said she had told the MP, "All I want is for this to be taken seriously and for him to investigate." We wished them all our best yesterday, but Samuel Ikpefe, Nigeria's sole participant at the Games, the Olympic Games, that is, in Beijing, China, has been eliminated from competing for a medal. Ikpefe finished with a time of 3 minutes and 9 seconds in the cross-country skiing event. This time and result for Ikpefe signify he was ranked 73rd out of 88 participants in the men's sprint-free category. It was history-making Olympics for Ikpefe as he put Nigeria on the map with his heroics. It was the first time Nigeria will be participating in the men's cross-country skiing. Ikpefe previously stated that he hopes to inspire more Nigerians to take part in the competition. However, his elimination means Nigeria will not be able to compete for a medal at the Games. This is the second consecutive Winter Olympics that Nigeria will attend. Team Nigeria, of course, led by Seun Adigun, Ngozi Onwumere, Akwoma Omelga and Simdele Adiagbo, participated in the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, Gangwon, South Korea. And as we end the program today, Nigerian makeup artist turned TikTok sensation Onimeri has wowed her audience with a skillful use of makeup to create faces of popular figures in Nigerian history. Her ability to draw lifelike images on her chest, as we see there, while facing the mirror, has earned her thousands of followers and views for each post. Watch.
With a foundation in eyeliner, Nigerian makeup artist Onimeri is painting faces of celebrities and notable icons on her body. The 23-year-old began training to become a professional makeup artist 2 years ago, but later discovered it was not her passion. In a bid to be distinct with this new skill, she began practicing painting using makeup tools. With her body as canvas, the young artist made her first drawing of a male subject she found on television.
That fateful day, I was watching DSTV, I saw a particular man, and I just said, okay, let me just try with this man. Let me paint this man on my chest and see if I can really do this, because I love it and I have passion for it. So I took my brow pencil, my foundation and my brush, and I started painting the man. It came out nice.
Mary's first portrait was the late American rapper Upaka, which gathered her popularity on social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Her painting takes about 7 to 8 hours to complete and puts a strain on her body most times.
One of the challenges I face whenever I'm doing this painting is my body. My body will start to ache me. I'll feel pain all over my body, my shoulder, my waist, my neck. I don't get all my paintings at once, because sometimes whenever I start to paint and I get to the nose or the eyes and I'll feel like this person doesn't look like what I'm about to paint, so I'll clean it and start all over again. And most times I don't get to start all over again because of my energy. It depends on how full my energy is, and sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes I'm not lucky, which means sometimes whenever I start to paint, I'm lucky to get the paintings at once. Sometimes I can try 2 to 3 times before I can get the particular painting I want to paint.
While this budding creative looks for new subjects, many of her fans believe there's room for improvement.
But now she's good, but I don't think she's there yet. But I think maybe before the end of the year, she would definitely improve. Maybe she just don't have all the right tools yet to get that there.
Building her brand and monetizing her skills is the next step for this young creative.
Her works are really impressive. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.